but I think you're right. If Protoss had made a few Dark Templar, that would have been bad news bears for our Zerg player.
Yeah.
So Hayata is going to go out, or I'm sorry, not Hayata. Protect is going to go out, and StarCraft Ascension Team B is going to be sending out Mr. Cash. I do have a bio on Mr. Cash. Did you have another comment that you wanted to make on that previous game that we just saw?
Nope.
All right. So Mr. Cash is one of the new members to StarCraft Ascension. He was recruited by SMI, and he regularly attends local lands. He notably placed second at a local Tampa esports land in Florida, and StarCraft Ascension views Mr. Cash as one of their more talented players, having huge potential, and he is really just on the brink of breaking out and attaining a new level of play. So we'll see if that cusp is broken tonight, if he's able to transcend his current level of play and unseat Hayata after a win against Protect.
I just wanted to let you know, too, the captain of Pulse just messaged me on Skype with Hayata's bio, if you'd like me to read that real quick. He said he just got back from work and send it to him.
All right.
So I'll go. Hayata was the one that just won the last game in really commanding fashion. And his story is this. I started playing StarCraft 2 back in beta after being a Brood War fan for many years. Big fan of J-Dong. And
Raise your dongers.
big fan of J-Dong. Reason I play Z, though, was Idra. I really enjoyed the game and dedicated quite a bit of my time to it, but I ended up taking about a year break due to unfortunate circumstances. I was previously the leader of Team Precision StarCraft Division, but the break interfered with that. I got into Pulse because I met Rikin on ladder, and we ended up having a good game and chat afterwards. I was and is still very happy about my decision. His Twitter is @PulseHayata, @PULSEHI. I will type that.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. So before we get into our next game, I want to remind you that you can follow myself and Wingnut at our Twitters, which are on the screen. You can see those there. And follow SC2CTL for all the updates on the tournament and who's going to be casting when, what teams are going to be broadcast. So you can follow with all the news that is coming through. Thank you so much to Das Keyboard for sponsoring the event. Follow them on Twitter as well and give them a shout out. And you can check out StarCraft 2 CTL at their website, sc2ctl.com, on Facebook, on Reddit, on Twitter. Lots of information, great tournament, great teams, and we are going to move in to Hayata versus Mr. Cash.
Real quickly, after this game, we're going to be giving out the first code of the night, which is for your cool prize of the day. We gave away last week a pack of Dragon's Maze booster pack of Dragon's Maze from Magic the Gathering. A real lucky person is probably holding their Voice of Resurgence right now. This week, it's going to be a satchel of naturally flavored fruit snacks and a marble. So look
you will be
to
the envy of the playground if you are the winner of that particular prize package.
Absolutely.
So stick around for those codes and enter them.
We're going to jump right into game number 3. Our score is tied 1-1 at SCA versus Pulse. SCAB, actually.
Yep.
Jumping into game 2. It is going to be in the lower left-hand corner, the yellow Terran from StarCraft Ascension. His name is Mr. Cash Money. Just Mr. Cash.
And in the lower right-hand corner, doing some really impressive Swarm Host play in the last game in the blue trunks representing Team Pulse, it is Hayata.
So, do you think the Swarm Host holds up as well as it does against Terran as it does Protoss?
You know, I don't think it does, and you don't really see it used that often against Terran. You usually see more, depending on whether they're playing Bio or Mech, but you usually see Lings or Banelings Mutas, or a big Roach Swell to try and deal with some of that Mech. I haven't really seen a lot of Swarm Host against Terran, and frankly, I haven't tried it. I'm sure that those scans really can put a damper on it if they can get a bunch of Marines that stem forward and scan right on top of those. Swarm Host, your day is ruined.
I just saw in chat that Raw Talent said for a second he thought he played someone named Wingnut on ladder today, only to find out his name was Walnut.
That would have been kind of neat.
That's my stepbrother.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. I don't have a stepbrother. But if I did, his name would be Walnut.
If you did, his name would be Galligation, let's be honest.
That's right. I do have a stepbrother. His name's Galligation.
Heyo! We're not really stepbrothers.
Not at all. But we are.
But we could be.
Looks like a hatch is going to be coming down at 15 for Hayata. It's going to take him down to 14. Definitely a hatch first right away from Hayata. He's going to be a similar build as last time. Going to be probably putting a spawning pool down at 16 here. He makes a couple drones.
That seems to be the right decision, as Mr. Cash is also putting a command center at the front.
Interesting, though, he's going to be probably planning to wall this off with a barracks, as he left a spot there for it. Absolutely.
Sure, yep.
This is a, I think I've seen Machine. See, either Machine or Thorzane do this build quite a bit with the command center blocking the ramp there.
Yeah, this is a fairly normal Terran. I've seen this a few times. Actually, even recently, as recently as WCS this past weekend, saw this build being used, and I believe that they'll probably turn that command center at the ramp into an orbital command while it still hangs out at the ramp. But we'll see how Mr. Cash decides to play it. That drone is fighting for his life, deciding to morph into an extractor, block some of that gas. But he'll likely cancel that before it finishes.
No raw talent, he didn't change. I was just joking you. Machine is a Zerg, for those of you unaware.
Oopsies.
Oh, hatch going down at the natural of Mr. Cash. This is going to be fun for him. Is it going to be just a play? Looks like a bunker's going to go down, so that bunker's going to be down with some Marines in it long before that hatch finishes. But some of the games we saw, was it week 1 or week 2 of the league that we saw a lot of hatch first? Hatch at the natural of their opponent builds from the Zerg players. Really interesting games.
And it's really interesting because you can block off their natural for relatively cheap if you get the cancel off. It's similar, I'd say, to putting down an engineering bag. Granted, it's a lot more expensive. It costs you 75 minerals, but look at all the SCVs that have to be pulled. Look at all the Marines that have to be put into production. I mean, this is a big threat. This is a big hit to what Mr. Cash wants to be doing right now, which is keeping those SCVs mining, maybe not making all those Marines, maybe making more SCVs than he would be otherwise. And now we have Lings coming forward to support that, but he is going to get the cancel off. Is that drone going to make it out? No, those Marines are going to catch him. And now the drones are moving, or the Zerglings are moving in, but they realize that is a lost cause. They're going to move on out of there.
Looks like third base is going to be going down after he cancels that, with lots of drones in production, queens in production, factory just finishing up for Mr. Cash.
And I can't say that was necessarily a bad play. Hayata's got the extractor in Mr. Cash's base, so he's only able to go on one gas, so we're probably not going to see a lot of airplay at this point. He forced a lot of Marines out. The only thing that I'd be a little bit worried about at this point is if Marines were deciding to charge across the map, but all you need is that one Ling at the bottom of the ramp to see those Marines coming across the map, and you can have a huge swell of Lings at any point. So he's relatively safe at the moment.
I actually wonder, I'm thinking that Mr. Cash didn't need to freak out about that quite as much as he did, because even though he had two Marines in there, maybe he only needed a couple SCVs to poke at it, but he killed it long before it finished. And he did have the command center in his base with only 10 SCVs mining minerals, so he could have just as easily produced more SCVs out of that to get his main up to full mining capacity until he was able to kill it off and move it down. So honestly, I don't think it did a ton. There was some SCVs that were not mining, but mind games.
Absolutely.
Mind games can win games.
Well, Mr. Cash obviously is going to want to try and stop that hatchery from going down before Queen goes down, so that Creep Tumor doesn't go down and block the natural long after the hatch is dead. And having Zerglings pop so close to your base is always a little bit nerve-wracking. You just don't want to give up that kind of position if you can avoid it.
I'll tell you what it did do, though, is it made all the Marines he was making focus on taking that hatch down instead of taking down this extra extractor. So if Mr. Cash would have been wanting to go for a more gas-heavy play off of the one base, he would have not do quite as fast, because it took him longer to get that assimilator down that he just had to kill off now that the Marines were not busy taking down that hatch at his base.
Yep.
So
and Hayata's got great vision all around the base of Mr. Cash, keeping an eye out for any medevac play that may want to be happening. We did just have Blue Flame finish. I'm not sure if that's what you were just about to comment on.
I was actually about to say the Baneley nest is going down.
Aha.
as well as an armory. So is this going to be for some upgrades? I don't see a engineering bay at this point, so he's going to be going for some mech.
Oh like. Yeah, I mean the blue flame finish. We do see 2 Hellbats in production now.
Oh, I'm sorry. He's going to be going for mech maybe eventually, but the armory was purely at this point just to get the Hellbats straight away out of the factory rather than having to research the morph.
And you know, a Hellbat drop is going to be pretty effective at this point. You know, like I said before, those Overlords are going to be able to spot it, but there's really not a lot that Hayata's going to have that's going to be able to deal with that very effectively. He doesn't have a lot of queens on the map. He has a lot of squishy light units, a lot of Zerglings, drones. Well, I guess he doesn't have a lot of Zerglings, but the potential for a lot of Zerglings. 56 drones.
There's an unusual upgrade coming out of Hayata now. He's getting Overlord speed, so possibly some Baneling drops.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
I don't know if you saw this week's Fun Day Monday, but it was the Baneling drop Fun Day Monday. Definitely an interesting one to watch. You should definitely check it out.
The medevac is currently moving into the main base of Hayata, carrying 2 Hellbats, but it is going to be seen.
There isn't a lot in here to defend against it, though. Only the queens, really so there's going to be a lot of drones going down.
Yep. These 3 kills so far. The Lings are there, but he picks up right away.
Oh, 2 queens. Oh. Second queen comes up to reinforce. That's going to be the end of that medevac if he doesn't get out of there pretty soon, but those Hellbats are not going to be able to... He's going to lose... Oh, he loses a Hellbat net. Oh, man.
Weird. He only got 3 worker kills. He was able to kill a queen, which is good, but there are a lot of queens down there, so...
Yeah,
I'm not sure how
probably not the most...
4 crawlers are going to go down.
Not the most productive Hellbat drop in the world.
A 4th base now going down for Hayata as well.
Hayata
we do see another Hellbat drop going towards, actually rallying right next to where that 4th is going to go, and eventually leading into that 3rd, I believe.
Spire going down now at the natural for Hayata. So
70 drones now for Hayata, so he has just a crazy number of drones.
Yeah, 70, 75, 74 now. Going to probably be going up to 75 to 63. If we look at the income, it's about 300 minerals a second higher than the Terran, whereas the gas is what's significantly higher at the moment with the Spire coming down. Obviously, Hayata put it down as insurance last game, I think, as the Hellbat drop comes in. Not going to be able to do a whole lot against all those Lings, but
just cleans all that up.
Is going to be able to get the medevac out this time. But as I was saying, that Spire came down last game purely as insurance, but this game, I'm interested to see what he does with it. Hellbat's just continuing to be pesky.
Great transfuse there. We do see a 3rd coming down from Mr. Cash now. And as you mentioned earlier, while we have a little bit of a lull here, that Overlord speed did research for Hayata, and I did see that there was a blue post on the Blizzard forums this week talking about potential changes, not actual changes, but that the Overlord speed could give a speed boost in the future to Overseers to try and help get against Widow Mine attacks. So that's not an actual impending update, it's just on a test map to see how it functions. So that could be a potential change that we see to the Zerg play in the future.
Yeah, it looks like Mr. Cash is going to be going into a pretty mech-heavy build as he's getting level 2 attack upgrades and our level 1 armor at double armories now with Thors coming out. So this is definitely going to be a transition into mostly mech here.
Mm-hmm.
Baneling Speed
there are some Vikings coming out, though. Yeah. Baneling Speed did not finish?
Baneling Speed did finish. He has some mutas on the map now. 9 more in production, so it's going to be a heavy muta play. 6 mutas out here right now, 9 more in production. This is going to be a ton of mutas to deal with.
Mr. Cash does not have a lot to deal with that. You know, he's got 1 starport, but it's not making Vikings right now, and they're moving in now.
Yeah, 2 Thors in production, but 1 is about to pop out here in about 15 seconds or so, but it's not going to be in time to deal with these right away. And he could get some... If he micros these well, he could get some decent kills. He's got SCVs around protecting that turret. They're trying to get that...
They boxed up pretty good there.
They did. That Thor.
Or balled up, rather.
Especially those Thors with when the level 2 attack upgrade comes down, those are going to be real nasty against mutas. So I have a feeling that Hayata is going to veer away from that pretty quick as the Infestation Pit comes down. So we're going to see Swarm Host again, you think?
No, this is going to be Infestor play.
You really think so?
I do think it's going to be Infestor play.
It's like a large number of Zerglings coming in with a lot of Banelings coming in. What makes you think it's going to be Investor play?
Infestors are pretty good against tanks. You can lob those beach balls in, and they absorb a lot of those tank shots. You can fungal things where you want them, and go in with your Lings and your Banelings and your Mutas. That's not an uncommon play against Terran with this type of army composition for Zerg.
It is true. We'll see here pretty quick. 32 lings in production. Likely we're not going to see any more tech out of Hayata at the moment, as he's got a big Terran army to deal with. He's going to be making nothing but units as he tries to max out here. Unusual circumstance where Mr. Cash is significantly ahead in the food count from Hayata.
And Mr. Cash has 12 SCVs with that army, just repairing everything as it takes any damage. This is going to be really hard to defend against. But it looks like I was incorrect. Enduring Locust is going down now. Mr.
Hayata having a huge army supply advantage, 127 to 83. This is going to be real hard for Hayata to deal with.
Big Baneling hits, so many tanks falling, so many Hellbats falling. And those Thors are just tearing apart those Mutas. A few Marines and Vikings are there, and he decides he's tired of losing those Mutas. He's going to back out and wait for a little bit more reinforcement. Banelings are moving, trying to reposition. But the army of Mr. Cash is moving forward, just looking incredibly strong here.
Yeah, I think Mr. Cash is going to be going in for a death blow right here. Hayata doesn't have a ton to deal with it. These Mutas aren't going to be all that effective, and the Zergling is going to be completely ineffective with all these blue flame Hellbats here. Just nothing's going to be able to happen. Those Banelings do take down all the Thors. Oh my gosh, so these Mutas are going to be a lot more effective now if they can take out the rest of these Vikings, which they do. There's a couple low health tanks here. If they can target those down, that'll be a big step in the right direction to helping Hayata stabilize. But these Hellbats are just ruining Hayata's mineral line here, losing so many drones.
Ooh, 2 Thors coming in to deal with some of those Mutas, so that Muta advantage is going to wither away, and huge damage happening. A lot of important tech structures are taking damage. Just damage all over the place. Another Thor comes in. Ling's coming in from behind to try and pick off some of those Thors. The Mutas are there dealing damage as well, but those Hellbats are just destroying the Lings. You're not getting effective trades with those. More Mutas come in to reinforce. Queens come in to transfuse, and that Thor does fall, so now those Hellbats are unprotected. And it looks like that is going to get cleaned up.
It looks like Hayata is going to be able to clean this up, but what position is he going to be in afterwards? I mean, he still has 4 bases, but so does Mr. Cash. If we look at the food, Mr. Cash is 35 ahead in the food, and in army supply, it's still double army supply. Worker supply, though, is very much in Hayata's favor at 78 to 57.
Despite having lost 26 workers, he's up to 76 now. He's been diligent and militant in his production of drones.
Oh, these Mutas are just going to get 2-shotted in. Hayata decides to GG.
He did not like the position that he was in, apparently.
No, he did not.
You know, that seemed... I mean, it definitely was an uncomfortable position, but I'm not sure that he had lost the game at that point, you know?
Yeah, as you see me with a thinking pose, I'm interested to see if they would have played that out, what he could have done, because he did have that infestation pit, so...
Yeah, that was not taken down, and the Locusts had finished, or the Enduring Locusts upgrade did finish.
I mean, he had 1,000 minerals and 1,000 gas in the bank, a full... I mean, I would say 100% full economy, as he did have 75 drones, which is what you want. And Mr. Cash was just getting up his 4th base. I mean... It seems like he would have been able to at least hang in there for a little bit, if nothing else, but maybe he just...
Well, you know, the tech that he was pursuing was he didn't really have anything that was a hard counter to that mech. Everything that he was pursuing was all light units. He had the Zerglings, he had the Banelings, he had the Mutalisks, and then he was going to get Locusts, or Swarm Hosts out as well, and the Locusts are light, so those Hellbats were just going to continue to really wreak havoc on that army. He was going to make really inefficient trades, and it was just not going to be a good day. And if he had wanted to try and switch to Roaches, that would have been very difficult too. He would have been dealing with a huge upgrade disadvantage, as Mr. Cash had been upgrading the armor and attack for his tech or his mech units, so he would have been coming from behind in that sense, and Mr. Cash was just really re-upping his supply and getting ready to move out again. I could see how he would feel like he was in a pretty bad position and not really wanting to play that out.